Well, hello, it's me, Mrs Blackwell. This month I'm coming to you from Flyleaf Bookstore and Bar in Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan. If you don't follow them, go to @FlyleafGP, Alice will put it there, on Instagram. This is a whole rabbit hole, so you probably need to pause this video and come back a little bit later. Those who are still here, it's Booker season. So this is my fiction peak of the year, and I have chosen 4 books out of the Booker dozen of 13 books. So just briefly about the major awards programs. There are 2 others that you've probably heard of, the Pulitzer Prize, that is available to an American author telling an American story. And the Women's Prize, which as the name suggests, is available to a female gendered author. And then the Booker Prize. This Booker Prize is available to any author whose book is published originally in English. Works in Translation have their own awards program, and it needs to be available from a registered publisher in the UK or Ireland. So for that reason, we end up with a really broad spectrum of books from authors from all over the world about all kinds of different subjects. When the Booker dozen comes out, I usually like to pick a few books that appeal to me, and this year there were actually 5. I didn't get to one, but we'll get to that next month. So we'll start with Stone Yard Devotional by Charlotte Wood. If there's a Kiwi or Australian author in there, for sure I'm going to read it, but geographical allegiances aside, this is a standalone great book. So our unnamed protagonist has recently left her marriage in Sydney and gone to a convent retreat in Monaro Plains in New South Wales. She later comes back as a permanent member of staff, and during her time there as a permanent member of staff, one of the remains of a nun who went on a mission to Thailand are discovered during a flood, and those remains are returned to the convent by a nun who our narrator went to school with and had a bit of a contentious relationship with. Running under all this story is this plague of mice that have taken over the convent. This is actually something that's happening more and more in Australia as an effect of climate change. You've probably seen the videos of mice at farms and homes, and that adds a bit of a layer of tension underneath the story as well. This one, for sure, I can see how this made the Booker Longlist. So it's an excellent book, Charlotte Wood, Stone Yard Devotional. Next, I read Orbital by Samantha Harvey. This is the story of 4 astronauts and 2 cosmonauts on a long-term scientific mission in space. There are no aliens. There are no near-death experiences. This is actually written in conjunction with NASA, and this is about how astronauts get about these long-term missions, the exercises that they have to do so that their muscles don't atrophy, the things that they can see from space, obviously all the landmass, but they can also see major weather patterns moving through, and a typhoon features in here quite frequently. And then the things that they're thinking about, their thoughts of home and how they deal with a major life event while they're in space, like the death of a parent. That's Samantha Harvey, Orbital. Next we've got Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner. This is the story of Sadie, who is a 36-year-old ex-FBI agent. She has been kicked out of the FBI for bungling her last job, and she has taken on work as a private spy. She's sent to southern France to infiltrate a gardening commune which they suspect of ecotourism, and this garden commune is led by a reclusive leader who lives in a cave and just communicates via email. The first half of the book is his emails interspersed with Sadie's past and present, and it is a little bit disjointed in the first half, but the second half starts to move along quite quickly and almost becomes like quite a classic spy thriller by the second half of the book. In fact, this is sort of one of those, feels like quite a mainstream choice by Booker standards by the end of the book. I read 2 books on audio from LibroFM. The first is My Friends by Hisham Matar. This is also a finalist for the Booker Prize, and in a really rare occurrence, the narrator is actually the author. It almost never happens with literary fiction. It's a story of Khalid, who is a student from Libya who goes to attend the University of Edinburgh, and while he's there, some friends on a whim talk him into going to a protest at the Libyan embassy in London, and that protest turns violent, and Khalid is quite badly hurt, and he ends up spending quite a bit of time in hospital. It follows then what he can communicate to his family in Libya, because all of the communications is monitored by the government. And he also has this chance meeting with an author that he remembers from childhood who wrote a story about a man being eaten by a cat, and they form a really close friendship. So the book ends up being about this friendship and also these allegiances that you have to a country even if you've been exiled from it. So the author himself has been exiled from Libya. And then the last book for the month, the only piece of non-fiction Adam and I listened to, Your Table is Ready, Tales of a New York Maitre d' by Michael Cecchi-Azzolina. And this is the front of house version of Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, or the American version of A Waiter in Paris. It has all the same elements, the sex and the drugs and the terrible customers and the celebrity guests, but from a front of house perspective. So that's my reading for August. I'm going to see you again in September. I won't be in this beautiful bookshop in Michigan, but go and look up Flyleaf GP and add it to your follows. This is one you really want to follow.